Hello, my name is Terrence Lau, and my research topic is on China's influence over Hong Kong's government. Here's some context. After the First Opium War, China was forced to cede Hong Kong to Britain in 1842 under the Treaty of Nanking. Hong Kong was leased to Britain for 99 years, which would expire in 1997. In 1984, the Sino-British Joint Declaration was signed between Britain and China. The agreement stated that Britain would return Hong Kong back to China in 1997 after the lease expired. Hong Kong was officially handed back over to China on July 7, 1997. China promised to maintain Hong Kong's existing capitalistic economy, legal system, and civil liberties for 50 years under the policy of one country, two systems. The one country, two systems policy was intended to integrate Hong Kong with China while preserving their unique political and economic system. This promise should have been kept until 2047. In 2020, Beijing implemented a national security law on Hong Kong, which 5 years later arrested dozens of pro-democracy activists, lawmakers, and journalists, as well as limited voting rights, freedom of press, and freedom of speech. In March of 2024, Hong Kong lawmakers passed Article 23, which added on to the national security law in 2020 that expands the definition of espionage, further expanding the scope of China's power over Hong Kong's rights and freedoms. They also limited chief executive election candidates to only patriots that loved the country and supported the Chinese Communist Party. In 2014, the guerrilla movements began, and it was sparked by how the chief executive would be chosen in 2017 and future years. Additionally, it was because of the denial of universal suffrage. The movement lasted 79 days, where protesters demanded fair elections. In 2019, Hong Kong had massive protests as Beijing proposed the extradition bill that would allow accused criminals to be brought to China and stand trial. This caught international attention as there were reports of excessive use of tear gas and rubber bullets during the protest. These are my references. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emma Song, and I will be discussing the increasing immigration in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's immigration in most recent times has been rooted by a pivotal political event, the implementation of the National Security Law in mid-2020. This official law by the People's Republic of China altered Hong Kong's legal system by creating 4 major criminal offenses, granting the right to prosecution and increasing censorship in Hong Kong, which is not subject to local law. This marked the farewell to Hong Kong's special status, shattering the political autonomy promised to the city. This has triggered a new wave of migration. Decisions to leave are driven by specific socio-political factors rather than just safety from protests and job opportunities alone. Data shows that immigration intention is statistically predicted by a critical loss of trust and confidence in the law and the legal system. For locals, the new law stripped away the security that defined the city's unique one country, two systems institution, causing the erosion of citizens' sense of identity. This has had an immediate impact on the global economy. Hong Kong, no longer being the unique international city they once knew, causes perceived decline in the future economic opportunities under the national security law, compelling individuals to seek destinations where freedom of expression and democracy are better protected. Hong Kong losing its appeal as a financial hub for Asia, as the city becomes highly dependent on mainland Chinese companies to compensate for the international withdrawal. The demographic profile makes this a brain drain crisis. This is defined as a striking outflow of younger, highly educated professionals. This loss threatens to undermine the city's competitiveness with warnings of an irreversible tech brain drain, crippling Hong Kong's ambition to maintain a high-tech center. The overall result of the population shuffle alters the intellectual composition of the city by losing its skilled, internationally minded population and increasing its economic and institutional integration with the mainland. The national security law-driven immigration wave actively challenges Hong Kong's viability and global status, leaving its future identity transformed. These are my references. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I will be discussing the growing concerns over the future of Cantonese in Hong Kong. To begin, Cantonese is mainly spoken in the southeastern part of mainland China, over here. Moving on, the most immediate and recent cause for concern over the future of Cantonese arose in 2023 when the Cantonese advocacy group Societas Linguistica Hong Kong Genesis, or the Hong Kong Linguist Association, was forced to shut down after authorities authorities demanded that the organization take down a fictional essay titled Our Time by Shuka, a submission to a writing competition hosted by the SLHP in 2020. The essay centers around the idea of a Hong Kong set in 2050 under a complete suppression of cultural and linguistic minorities. Failure to take down the essay could lead a trend to be wanted by the National Security Department. This follows the passing of the controversial national security law in 2020, widely seen as unfairly encroaching on Hong Kong's autonomy. This incident indicated that speaking and supporting Cantonese in Hong Kong is now a political matter. There have also been crackdowns on Cantonese in the People's Republic of China, the most notable incident being the Guangzhou television Cantonese controversy of 2010, when the government proposed to decrease broadcasting Cantonese before Guangzhou was to host the Asian Games. This proposal sparked pro-Cantonese language protests, leading to Guangzhou TV to eventually turn down the proposal. This did not stop some Hong Kongers from developing the sentiment of Guangzhou today, Hong Kong tomorrow, in response to growing concerns over the suppression of Cantonese in favor of Mandarin. Before 1997, English was the official language used in schools, although Cantonese was commonly used instead. Now 70% of primary schools and 20% of secondary schools use only Mandarin, a change that occurred after the Education Bureau declared the objective of eventually establishing Mandarin as the official language used in Chinese schools in 1999. The government disclosed their intention to give $26 million to 160 schools to switch from Cantonese/English to Mandarin, sparking concerns that the government is bribing schools to teach their classes in Mandarin. This issue was further exacerbated when the PRC State Language Commission released an article arguing that Mandarin should be Hong Kong's official language rather than its, quote, mother dialect, unquote, Cantonese, indicating they believe Cantonese should be demoted from a language to a dialect. The push to establish Mandarin as the official language of schools and to categorize Cantonese as a dialect solidifies Beijing's intent on using Mandarin as a political tool for domination over Hong Kong, reflecting fears that the PRC eventually looks to cultural homogenization as a goal. With all of this in mind, the future of Cantonese is up in the air and will likely only become even more compromised with the ending of the one country, two systems model in 2047. These are my references, and thank you so much for listening to this part of the presentation.
Mainland China's Growing Influence on Hong Kong's Education System by me, Isaac Shin Gonzalez, State and Society in Asia Pacific, San Diego State University. Disclaimer for educational purposes only. What used to be one of Asia's most open and critical education system is now being reconstructed around patriotism and obedience. Since the 2019 protests, Beijing has worked systematically to reshape Hong Kong's youth to understand history and identity and loyalty. For decades, Hong Kong schools emphasized analytical thinking, civic engagement, and exposure to global ideas. Students debated social issues freely, and teachers had broad academic independence. But after the mass protests in 2019, which Beijing viewed as a challenge to its authority, education became a political battleground. The government started framing schools as a place to strengthen national identity and safeguard sovereignty. In 2020, the National Security Law introduced national security education into every level of schooling, which students must learn about China's political system and its constitution and its duty to protect national unity. Textbooks were heavily revised, Tiananmen Square was removed, and a lot of history was pretty much revised. These reforms have fundamentally changed classroom culture. Many students now avoid controversial discussions out of fear of complaint or investigations. Some students said they have stopped speaking openly in classrooms completely. The resistance has gone quiet, but it hasn't disappeared. My research isn't only about education. It's about autonomy, identity, and the power of ideas. Hong Kong's story reminds us that freedom of thought can't be erased overnight. As long as teachers and students continue asking questions, the city's independent spirit still has a pulse.